A lot of people are getting really stressed about Christmas fat gain and specifically worrying about Christmas Day. So I just thought I'd make a really quick video addressing some of those concerns and giving some tips of how to manage this. So firstly, a bit of a reframe. Christmas dinner itself is only really a big roast dinner with extra pudding. It's all the other overconsumption over the day, the week, the month, the year potentially. That's the issue, not that one celebratory meal. Generally, when it comes to big meals and celebrations, the approach I take for clients who are aiming for fat loss or weight management is that we view a week such as this as maintenance rather than fat loss. And how we manage this in practice is that we consider the week as a whole and we balance the larger meals with smaller meals. So it works out evenly, roughly, across the week's total calories. And also we look at macros and we make the smaller meals more protein and veg because your bigger treat meals are more likely to be carbs and fats. Now, I know that if you're not used to looking at your portions and you're not used to understanding anything about macros, this might seem complicated. It's actually not in practice. It's actually really simple and you don't even necessarily need to calorie count or track to be able to do that approach. So now onto some more tips. Here's some tips which I hope will help you if you are stressing about how to balance enjoyment and staying on track. Firstly, thinking about Christmas Eve, go lighter on Christmas Eve as possible, both in terms of calories and booze, rather than having Christmas Day start early. Means when you wake up on Christmas Day, you're going to feel much better. When you wake up on Christmas Day, keep hydrated with lots of water from the moment you wake up. It's going to make you feel like you have better energy levels, but it's also going to hopefully mean that you don't overeat quite as much. If you do have breakfast on Christmas Day, obviously you don't need to. It depends on what time your main meal is getting served. I would suggest that you make it something that's lower calorie and protein based. So a protein shake's a great option here because it's going to fill you up. It's very few calories and it's going to help keep your blood sugar stable. If you, when we think about Christmas dinner now, have the opportunity to serve your own Christmas dinner, don't overdo the portion sizes. So one roast potato is probably fine. You likely don't need 3. If you did turn out to need 3, you can always go back and get some more. That is a much better option than overfilling your plate and then feeling like, well, I've taken it, so I've got to deal with it now. Speaking of clearing your plate, don't feel obliged to clear your plate, regardless of whether you've served yourself or someone else served you. When you're eating, put your cutlery down, chat, breathe, have a drink of water. Eat until you are about 70% full, you're approaching comfortably full, rather than that you're over full or stuffed. It's going to mean that you feel a lot better afterwards. Thinking about alcohol for a second, obviously you're also not obliged to drink alcohol, but if you do drink alcohol, then go easy. Stick to lower calorie options such as Prosecco, gin and tonic with diet tonic, because the calorie difference between the different alcohol choices really adds up. And also I would recommend, again, making sure you're keeping a lot of water involved in this and also delaying the start of your alcohol consumption till later in the day, because again, this is going to make you feel better on Christmas Day and the next day, and also it's going to mean that you probably have more impulse control for the snacks, which is what I want to talk about next. Don't snack. It's actually all the chocolate, the mince pies, the crisps, the nuts, all of that really makes a difference to the day's calorie intake. It's sitting there with one hand going to and from the quality street while you're watching TV. All of that can make such a big difference to whether you maintain weight or gain weight over the Christmas period. Thinking about meals again, if you don't feel like you need a second meal later in the day, don't have one. You have had a really big day of eating. If you do not feel hungry later, don't feel obliged to eat anything. If you do feel like you do need something later in the day, well, hitting the cheese and crackers is probably a worse choice in terms of your waistline and your energy levels than something like a bit of meat and veg or a bit of fruit. So just think about, if you are going to have something, what it is and how that's going to make you feel. Speaking of how you feel, Get out for a walk or two. It's going to help digestion, it's going to help energy levels, and it's probably going to help your stress levels too. So that would be a really positive recommendation. At least like either a big walk after food or a couple of walks. Fresh air is going to make you feel so much better than if you're inside sedentary the whole day. Thinking a little bit now about Boxing Day. Boxing Day is a great opportunity to reset with a light eating day, fresh air, movement, and basically avoiding Christmas Day spilling over into more indulgent, because this is the issue, is that Christmas Day on one day isn't the issue. It's the fact that Christmas Day becomes Twixtmas, becomes just this behemoth of indulgence rather than just being a meal. Remember that what you do the other 51 and a half, nearly 52 weeks of the year is what really affects your waistline, your fitness and your health, not just Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. So while of course I recommend a bit of moderation over Christmas, and I really encourage you to eat sensibly during Twixtmas rather than writing the whole week off, remember life is about balance, good habits and consistency. So be compassionate to yourself. It's a stressful time of year. Get some rest in and get some activity in, and basically be intentional in your pleasure and have a great time.